mimic the actual workout resistance, as well as improving. The second, it starts leaning forward, it's going to hurt the lower back as well as the knees. So we want to avoid that. And always keeping our chest straight. So just keep that back a little straight, but that'll help.
Welcome back to my channel. So I am currently getting ready to go over to my local UPS store and open up a business address, so get a mailbox through them. And I'm also going to be meeting my supervisor so I can give her payment for supervision. I'm going to go ahead and bring you all with me, so let's go ahead and get going. Hi everyone, so it is almost 8 p.m. Yeah, it's 7:48. I haven't checked in this vlog for a while because listen, what ended up happening was I made myself some lavender spearmint tea to help me unwind for the night, and we could have a little chat and kind of catch up over what happened today. So I ended up trying to go and get a mailbox address so that I can put on my Google business page for people to search me up and to help with SEO and all of that good stuff. I'll leave a video link down below if you want to learn more about that. But it was so unhinged. Like, it was the experience was something else. So I ended up having to go to 3 different places, and finally the third place was the one. Thankfully I have my mailbox number now. I can list it on my address. The only downside is that now I have to re-verify my Google account, so it's going to take another 5 days, and they're going to mail me the code, so it's going to end up going to my mailbox. But all very much worth it. This needed to happen. It was on my list of things to do for this month, but I was so freaking tired by the time that I got home. I mean, it was 96 degrees out today, so it was just a hot day, not a great situation, but it needed to get done, so it got done. And then when I got home, my PCOS decided that it was nap time. So I ended up taking a nap. No regrets. I felt so much more refreshed once I ended up waking up. There've actually been 2 posts that I really liked on social media. I saved them specifically so that we could talk about them, because when I read them I was like, yes, this is so great. I resonated with it so much. So let's look at the first one. And this one was shared on the Private Practice Pro account, and it was basically, I think, a reshare of Kelly Stevens's post, and she's an LMFT. And so this is the post right here. And so what it basically says is, therapists, you deserve to be paid enough to pay off your student loans. You deserve to be paid enough to take a vacation. You deserve to be paid enough for your kids to go to college. Sacrificing your financial goals won't make you a better clinician. It will make you a resentful one. And this is so true, because when we really think about it, a lot of the clinicians that end up burning out, and they're so unhappy. For the majority of the part, it's not because of the work that they're doing with clients. It's mainly because they're not being paid a living wage and being paid well for their work and the work that they're doing in their communities, which isn't fair at all. And it's something that I continually hear from people, where even I have gotten asked, you know, how are you a therapist? Doesn't it take a toll on you to hear people's stories? And when I've really dug down deep and I realized that the two main factors that led to me really experiencing burnout in my early 20s was, one, because I was being overworked. So it wasn't just hearing client stories, it was hearing an overwhelming amount and feeling like I couldn't pause. I couldn't hit the pause button and take a breather and take a break. And that wasn't my client's fault. That was the organization that I was working for's fault, and the way the systems are in place in larger mental health agencies that don't allow clinicians to take a breather. And believe me, this can also happen in private practice depending who you work for. So it's honestly more of a systemic issue, and it lies within leadership and how they handle things. Because obviously, you know, if a clinician has to make a living wage and the only way to do that is to see more clients, larger caseload, and they're doing that, it's so much easier to burn out that way. And it's so annoying how little employers care about this, versus if you were to pay your clinicians a living wage and pay them well, they could take on a smaller caseload and just be healthier and happier individuals. But I definitely think pay and also larger caseload are the main reasons for clinicians burning out, and these two go hand in hand, because if you're not paying clinicians well, then they have to take on a larger caseload in order to pay their bills, in order to just make ends meet, or if they're working for a larger agency, in order to meet their quota. And on this post, what they wrote down in the bottom was, I refuse to sacrifice my financial health to compensate for the inadequacies of a broken healthcare system. Hell yes, I fully agree. What does that mean? I'm no longer willing to work for a salary that prevents me from making student loan payments. I refuse to accept insurance reimbursements that are incommensurate with my training, experience, and education. Instead of working for less than I deserve, I vote for politicians that fund mental health programs. Yes, this is a big one, you guys. We need to get out and vote. Please consider doing so. Your voice as a mental health clinician when it comes to voting and the way the systems are set up in place by our government, everything that's happening right now in the US with our government, women's rights, LGBTQ rights, how people of color are being affected, like all of these things, we can have a say if we get out and vote and keep spreading awareness about these things, which is so important. We're so needed. It's so important for us to stand up for these things and to do something about it. And it also says, I keep 4 $15 session spots in my practice for low-income clients. I donate to mental health nonprofits. While these actions alone are not sufficient to solve our country's mental health accessibility inequities, I am no longer willing to sacrifice my financial health to compensate for the lack of responsibility taken by insurance companies, our government, and tech companies. If I had a mic, just mic drop moment, because yes, I definitely feel the same way. And so I've had to think about these things with my practice now, where it's like, okay, I still want to be able to help those in my community who maybe can't afford my regular price, because yeah, the healthcare system is freaking broken, and it's not our fault as professionals, because we also have student loan debt and things that we have to pay off, and our work deserves to be compensated. But by setting up these healthy boundaries, I know for me, it's like, you know what? I can't see every single client at this price, because then I'd have a large caseload, be living a super unhealthy lifestyle for myself financially, mentally, emotionally, all the things, right? But I can't afford to have a few slots where I can see clients on the sliding scale, you know, slightly smaller. And even though I work with people all over Texas, I specifically reserve those slots for people in my own community, because I really do want to help contribute to making a difference in my community, because I love it so much. I was born and raised here, so it definitely matters to me a lot. But yes, these are all important things to think think about and how you want to implement those boundaries for yourself within your own practice in the future or in your own workplace. You know, important conversations to have. And then the second post, I feel like these go hand in hand. Like, I was in a mood when I was reading these. So the next one is on Therapist to Therapist account, and I highly recommend that you go follow this because she shares job posting, you guys. So good. She's doing some amazing work, so definitely go follow her on Instagram. And it says, I have a question. I'm currently a high schooler and wanted to pursue clinical psychology in college and as a career path. I wanted to ask how to not become desensitized in the job and how to stay mentally and emotionally stable. How do therapists maintain their emotional side as well when it comes to hearing clients' stories? And so this is what this therapist wrote. I received this great question from one of my followers that I thought would be super helpful to others who are interested in pursuing a career in counseling. I hear this question often, especially because as mental health professionals, we are more susceptible to vicarious trauma, burnout, compassion fatigue due to the consistent exposure to clients' trauma and pain. Being proactive is important to combating these experiences. Having a therapist early on and learning the signs so you can be self-aware to any changes in behavior, work, and life outside of your work is key. So yes, those were the two posts that I wanted to share with you. I feel like it's really good conversation. So I personally can't reiterate this enough that the main key point here is the fact that clinicians and mental health professionals need to be given breaks in between listening to some of these stories, especially when you're working in the field early on, first being exposed to maybe listening to some of these things for the first time and learning what that means for you. But yes, I could go on and on. If you were to ask me, my main issue is with the fact that this is a systemic problem and an issue that falls within leadership. Like, y'all need to take care of your employees and of your mental health professionals, because yes, they're doing great work in the field and in the community, but they're human and they can't just be tossed and then you get another one. Eventually you're gonna run out of people who want to work in this field if things don't change. Or more and more people are gonna run into situations where a lot of us are gonna decide to just tap out of those situations and start our own thing and start our own business and set our own schedule, which is what I decided to do because I was done. I was over it. And I truly don't want to sound like a broken record when I'm talking about these things, but I always picture, what if someone new has hopped onto this video for the first time? I feel like this is such an important message to get across that doesn't get talked about as much in the mental health field, because we've all been really trained to be okay and to normalize the fact that this is the way things are when it's not okay and it doesn't have to be like this. But that is all of the tea for tonight.
For a limited time, take an additional 5% off your...
And you ever wonder if days like these last with one another, with the feeling pass? Would you find...
Hi everyone, so today is Friday. It is a new day and I went through my regular morning routine. I ended up meeting with my supervisor because we usually do this on Fridays. Sometimes we might switch it up, but it's usually on Fridays. So I met with her. It was a really great meeting. I feel like I'm really going to miss supervision once it's over. It's gonna feel a little bit weird. Like, of course, financially it's gonna feel great, but it's just gonna feel so weird not to have the routine of meeting with my supervisor every Friday, and that's not gonna happen anytime soon. It should take me another full year. So my intention was to end the video in the last clips that you all saw and just have that one day, but right now I'm going to be working on updating my little intro video on my Psychology Today profile. It's basically a directory for mental health professionals. It makes it a lot easier for you to get clients and for clients to find you. But I digress. Back to the topic at hand. The plan for today is to go ahead and update that because I still have the video back when I was working at the practice where I was at, and I went and listened to it again just to see the improvements that I wanted to make. And on there I noticed that I talk about, you know, being an LPC-associate, so that's something that I want to nix in this updated version, simply because once you start working in the field, you start noticing that clients don't really know what those acronyms mean. And please take this with a grain of salt, because these are observations that I'm noticing for me and that are going to be working for me, and I'm just sharing them with you. But this does not mean that you have to implement these things. I'm just trying to show you a little window into the things that I'm doing. So because I noticed that, what I want to end up doing is having my little intro match up with everything else that I have on social media. So I'm going to start off by saying something like I'm a virtual therapist. So something like that that sounds a little bit more universal, because most people, when they're typing on Google, they're searching for a therapist near me or a counselor near me, and not necessarily LPC-associate or LMFT, whatever our licensing titles may be. So that's what I'm gonna go ahead and focus on right now. And I thought I would bring you along for that little moment, and then we'll end the video. And I wanted to show you all because I feel like all of these little things that go into having and running a virtual therapy business and a virtual private practice, I feel like these are the things that I would like to know, right? Because I can give you a checklist of what it took for me to open up my business, but to get to see these little details that go into the day-to-day, I feel like can be really helpful. But definitely let me know what you think in the comment section. So let me back up over here. I have my other tripod, and I highly recommend, if you're thinking about being a virtual therapist and your job involves social media, definitely consider investing in a tripod. Some are less expensive than others, but this is great because you can use it for your phone or for your camera. Just make sure that when you buy one, it comes with the attachments for whatever you want it for. So I tend to use this one more often, but I do have a spare one that came with the original kit when I bought my DSLR cameras. So that is what you all are standing on right now. But I also want to say, if you're on a budget, don't feel like you have to go out and buy these things right away. For the time being, you can use a shelf or a stack of books as like a makeshift tripod. Anyone who's been on YouTube has been there. We've all been there. It's completely okay, but I just wanted to suggest this in case you ever find yourself in the position where you are able to maybe invest little by little in some things that could be useful, because that way you can just adjust this to the height that you want and put it wherever you need to put it. Just tools like this that can make our job a lot more efficient, for sure. Even if you want to do like stories on Instagram, it's always nice to have something like this. Here's my one little prop for my intro video that I'm going to have. I made myself a cup of tea because, again, I'm trying to have everything that I do have the same vibe. I think something that's super important is to do what feels true to you. And so sometimes when we consume so much content like that, it can be really easy to question ourselves and to question the things that we want to do. But I think it's so important to do the things that feel most true to us. When we're authentic, we're welcoming others to be authentic as well. So, and then my really old iPhone. That is what I'm going to be filming. Hopefully one day I can upgrade, but for now, I don't even know which one this is, you guys. Maybe like the 6S, I have no idea. But I'm gonna go ahead and attach this to that, and we'll just set it up together. So, gonna bend this all the way down. Actually, I need it to go the opposite way. That way it can actually bend all the way down. So my phone, okay, and so usually I want this lower part to come bending down, so that way the camera's actually like at an angle to me. Definitely don't want to go too far, because then it'll topple over to the front, and we do not want that to happen. Okay, so here we are. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and raise this. That way you can actually see my face in this. So ideally what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna record here and leave you guys there so you can see what I'm doing. I'm just gonna go to my regular camera app on here, and flip the screen. And then later on, what I'm gonna go ahead and do is just edit it. I also wanna make sure there's good lighting in this. So I'm gonna put this forward and also shift myself this way so clients see the plants in my background, the candles, the book. You guys are getting a little behind the scenes, a little BTS of what it's like to do this. It takes time to adjust everything, and the same goes for when I'm filming with you all. It takes time for me to place everything and to start filming. Hello everyone, my name is Yanira Cavazos and I am a virtual mental health therapist here in the state of Texas. Okay, here we are, way better lighting. See if I can get that a little shorter. I'm gonna have to cut something out, but I don't know what. So maybe let's watch the video one last time and see what I can cut out. That's something that you'd be interested in, feel free to send me an email. Okay, so I think I can talk a little bit faster. Like, we want to be relaxing and chill, but I can go a little faster. And I also want to normalize this portion of doing this, knowing that it does take a couple takes sometimes and some practice. I remember the first time I did this back when I first became an LPC-associate. I was way more nervous than I am now, and I had to like really write down what I wanted to say. And now it just feels a little bit more natural. Hello everyone, my name is Yanira Cavazos and I'm a virtual mental health therapist here in the state of Texas. I specialize in working with women over the age of 18. That's the one, I'm calling it. Now, let me count for you guys how many takes that took. Up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 takes, you guys. 11 takes to finally get the 14-second one. But we did it. I did it. It's done.